Dilmah Tea Party is brought to you by the Dilmah Exceptional Range. And that's it right there. G'day, welcome to the Dilmah Tea Party. Well, it's a bit of a Basin Reserve special today. This, of course, is the 50th Test match at this wonderful ground. So we're going to go over some of the great Test matches that have been played in those 50 and some of the better performances. And to help me do that, I've got Simon Doull and Craig McMillan, both who apparently have played quite well and have some highlights at this ground. But first up, fellas, before we get into that, as far as I'm concerned, this is my favourite test ground in New Zealand. I think it's a pure test ground. It's just a good place to play. It has a sort of heritage associated with it, and never did brilliantly. I think I never got even a first-class 100 at this ground, but always enjoyed playing here, whereas you guys have done very well in particular. But first of all, about the ground, Dooley, I mean, how did you feel about playing here?
Loved it. Loved it. You knew what to expect when you came to the Basin. I mean, you're always going to get some wind, and I guess you just prepared for it, expected it. I'd like to say it's my favourite ground in New Zealand, but it's not. It just comes second behind Seddon Park in Hamilton because that was my home ground.
It was a home ground?
Yeah. But it is.
A swing bowler's venue, that one up there too, whereas this isn't really a swing bowler's venue.
No, but I mean, you just used to get a good feeling about coming here, Mackie. You'd walk through the back door and down to the dungeons and you get out on the park. It was just great, wasn't it?
Yeah, let's talk about the dungeons, Macca, because you used to, before you batted, would hang out in the dressing room. You didn't like to watch the cricket. You'd sort of lie on the physio's table, and it was very, very quiet down under the stand here, isn't it?
It was. You could hear what was going on, even though I couldn't see a TV. I always knew when a wicket had fallen. So it was just a good feel. There was always a good atmosphere, especially with the Boxing Day Test. You had the beige brigade there with their megaphone yelling out taunts at the opposition. There was just a really good atmosphere to the whole ground, so it was certainly one of my favourite too, and probably Seddon Park would be the other one because it was a cricket ground as well.
The wind, I mean, you mentioned the wind before. Now that I'm not playing, I describe it as a quirky feature of this ground, not, you know, a pain in the backside. But you get used to it, but harder probably for a bowler than a batsman, you think?
Yeah, I guess it's harder, but as I said, you know it's there. You don't ever come to Wellington expecting it to be fine and have a little 5-knot breeze at your back, you know. You know it's going to be there, so you're prepared for it. It's not something that just turns up on the odd occasion. It is here most days of the week.
Hang on, you wouldn't have had it at your back at any stage, would you?
No, very rarely. Very rarely it wasn't at my back. There was always faster bowlers than me on the side that needed it.
Yeah, Macca, I used to find that one of the things is the noise associated with your bat and a helmet. It's noisy. The wind rattles through, and that used to get quite exhausting. And running between the wickets, getting the calls, hearing what your mate was saying at the other end was always quite difficult.
Well, running between the wickets with you was always a nightmare to begin with at all. But once you couldn't hear, then it made it even more difficult. Look, it was windy. I had some of the coldest days, I reckon, in my cricket career at the Basin Reserve. You always had 2 or 3 jerseys on. At times it was difficult to run because you had so many layers on. But look, it was a special ground, and we had, over a period of time, some pretty good performances here. And it was a ground that you always look forward to coming to.
You could use the wind. You always had an end where you could just lob it over the bowler's head and it seemed to go for 6 too, wouldn't it? You'd score all your runs at one end, hitting with the breeze.
Well, that's just sensible, isn't it? You have a defensive end and an attacking end, and you were generally at the defensive end, blocking the snot out of it, and we were down the attacking end playing a few shots. So
you have to be too smart to work out that you hit downwind, Rigger.
Hitting the ball along the ground. All right, well, I think we've got some vision of, Dooley, your great day at the Basin Reserve, in which you managed to bowl the Indians out on day one, and you'd have to say this was an anomaly of the Doull career. You lived off this for quite some time. Let's have a look. Ooh, well, that's dead straight, isn't it? That hasn't swung. Look how green it is. Look how green the pitch is. Even I'd get wickets on that.
Oh, you couldn't get wickets.
Macca, you wouldn't, because you'd keep bowling bounces.
Can't believe how much gold's around the neck. Look at it.
How could you? Oh, it is swinging now. What are you bowling from here?
This is from the RA Vance stand end.
Yeah.
Well, that is from the RA Vance stand end. Yeah. The interesting, I guess, thing about that is I turned up to the ground. I was so unprepared that day, it wasn't even funny. I left my inner soles behind at the hotel. DJ Graham's wife Sheila had to go back and get them for me, and I just wasn't very prepared that day, and I don't know what
DJ's wife is called Sheila.
No, sorry.
All right. But you've got the first 3 to fall there. The ball is swinging, especially the ball that you push away from the left-handers or swing away from the left-handers. Did we win the toss and bowl? What was the story?
We won the toss and bowl, I'm pretty sure of that.
Yeah.
And, I think we had 4 down quite early. There was a good knock from Tendolkar, 50 from Tendolkar, and Azruddin got...
Well, you're
Azruddin
getting
got
wickets, so
100.
we'll continue having a look here with the second part of this. I think you've got 3 for next to nothing here, so you continue to get wickets. I think you had the first 7 to fall in the innings.
Yeah, the first 7 it was, and it was actually quite... That was
a pie.
Yeah, it was a
Lucky
ranked leg side half volley, that one. Good catch from Matthew
Tendolkar,
Bell.
you'd take it any way you get it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, good catch from Matthew Bell there.
Oh, bouncer.
Well, it's not really a bouncer. I don't think it was just the shortest ball. He didn't play very well.
Really good catch coming up here in the gully, boys. You'll see Dooley getting Kumble. Oh, hopefully,
we're not gonna see
maybe
it.
in the next segment.
Maybe.
Yeah, look, that's
I
only
think that's
6.
it. I think
You
that's
got
it.
7, didn't you?
Yeah, I did get 7. I got the first 7, and then Dion Nash got the 8th wicket. And I was actually quite relieved.
Well, what were you thinking at the point you had the first 7 to fall? Were you starting to think 10?
Well, I was starting to get a bit worried because then I guess the pressure's coming on. 10 would have been great, but I was getting a bit tired too. I think I'd got through about... I hadn't had a break and got through 13 or 14 overs on the trot, and just starting to get a little bit tired. I suppose I was quite relieved when Nash picked up one of the other wickets.
Because I remember in one of the team huddles we started talking about Richard Hadley's 9 for 52. That started getting mentioned.
Oh, you started talking about
We
it?
talked about it, and the funny thing was, when Nash got his wicket, there was an absolute scream and a yell from up here in the RA Vance stand, because that was where Sir Richard was. And he was so pleased that I wasn't going to get past him. He was just jumping up and down and clapping for 1 wicket for Dion Nash. He could be heard all around the
One
ground.
of the things I noticed there, while you're on a green surface, you're picking up wickets. At the other end, Mohammad Azruddin is making 100. I mean, that must have been quite a special innings.
They had an awesome batting lineup. They had Dravid, Ganguly, Sidhu, Azruddin, Tendolkar. It was an amazing lineup, and Dooley had pretty much smashed them by lunch, got rid of all the key players. But Azruddin, through the carnage, just played beautifully. He was so strong off his pads. You could bowl wide of off stump. Somehow it still ended up on the leg side. It was really...
We went on and won that test match, that Boxing Day. And was that when the tradition started of the engine room, which was the bowling attack plus Adam Perori? I don't know how he talked himself into the engine room.
Well, he kind of talked himself into anything for nothing, Adam Perori.
You got a limousine and you'd go up the top of Mount Vic, wouldn't you, and kick off the celebrations in the limousine.
Beers in the back of the limousine, and for some stupid reason, we took cigars. I mean, I've never been a smoker, but we took cigars and beers, and we went up to the top of Mount Victoria, and we celebrated, and that was how we started our night.
You came down and opened the doors, and the smoke billowed out. And sort of rolled on to it.
Rolled on and kept going through the night.
All right, well, fantastic stuff. Now, Macca, now this is a particularly good ground for you because this is where you scored your maiden Test match century, so it'll always be a fond place for you, won't it?
Absolutely. I just come off a tour of Australia where I made my Test debut and first Test in New Zealand at the Basin, playing Zimbabwe, and managed to score a Test 100. I just love playing there because it just had that special feel to it.
Well, we've actually got some vision to have a look at, so let's go back to... When was this? What year was this?
This is 98.
All right, here we go then. So you've just come in Zimbabwe. Could have picked a better team to score your maiden century against, couldn't you?
Well, they had a good side. They had Heath Streak and the Flower brothers, and they were strong at that point. Henry Alonga as well, but just a guide through third man.
Really limited backlift though, Mac, wasn't it? All your career. It was short. It was short, and you hit the ball very hard with not such a big backlift. How heavy was your bat?
Bat changed as it started off sort of around 210, and as I got the last 2 years I played, it was around 2.8, got lighter and lighter, but it was never a big backlift, and it was short and sharp. I thought a lot of guys had to pick up the bat a bit further and have a bit more power, but I found that I still got a lot of power from having that short backlift, even similar to my golf swing, really.
Well, we've got you there on 50, so let's look as the innings progresses now. At what point were you starting to think about 100 here?
Oh, I don't think I was really thinking. I was just looking to.
Well, we know
bash.
that you didn't really think.
I was just trying to bash every ball for 4 or 6 rig, trying to be positive. Got a few loosies from the leg spinner. I think his name was Adam Huckle. And if it was up, it was going.
Well, there's the McMillan stroke, isn't it?
That was
hitting with the breeze.
Yeah, a little bit of touch there, just a little bit of soft hands. Bit of a mixture.
Oh, what a dirty hoy.
Must have been downwind.
What do you got there?
It must
Where's
have
this
been downwind,
gone?
that one.
Yeah, and there's a bit of touch there, but there's also a bit of bulliness, I suppose.
When you came into the New Zealand side, I think, and this is early times, I mean, you came in, you belted the door down to get in the New Zealand team, didn't you? I think you set a record for Canterbury.
Yeah, I'd had 3 years of first-class cricket. First year went well, second year was poor. I'd had that second-year syndrome that a lot of players face, and then the third year I'd come good again and got a lot of runs under the belt. And I had a new coach, and Steve Rickson, who, for my game, was perfect. He was, encouraged me to be positive, to play my natural game, and I just really...
Did you have success here for Canterbury? Or is that why you like the ground as well, or not?
we'd played a few Shell Cup finals, and I guess that was the golden era for Canterbury, where we pretty much won the Shell Cup, the Shell Trophy, most of the competitions domestically. And so I had played at the ground with them and had success, so I always felt comfortable here.
All right, well, that's enough hearing about Canterbury. Let's go and follow you through to your 100 now, OK? So, well, you must have been about 70-odd there when we were looking here. Oh, Dirty Hoy again. Is that the same stroke, or that's where you've just targeted that part of the ground?
No, I think that's just target.
A lot of leg spin being bowled too. It looks very brown and flat.
And then the offie came on, and I think that was to bring up the 100. Wasn't sure.
Did it go all the way?
Yeah, it did go all the way. They weren't sure, but downwind, as you said, Rig used the wind, and had Dion Nash at the other end, which was great, an experienced guy at the other end. Look a little bit younger there, fair to say, Dawley. The goatee going on.
Not a great look, was it?
What did you go on to in that match? So I guess we'll bring up the cards.
30-odd, I think. But
yeah.
It was, we ended up winning it, didn't we? Which was, the start of, a pretty good period for us through that Rickson era.
Yeah, so what have we got? He's dead. So you bowled them out for 180, 411 there, Craig McMillan 139. And then you knocked it off win by 10 wickets. So, good effort. Murray Goodwin, now there's a name. Of course, didn't play much for Zimbabwe, an Australian from Western Australia. He was a heck of a player, played a lot of county cricket. They were, you mentioned it, actually, in those days it's a shame because Zimbabwe were a very, very good team, weren't they? They weren't a very, very good team, but they were a better team than, of course, they are now.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely. They had a lot of great players, the Flower brothers, Grant and Andy, Heath Streak, who was a heck of a player, Murray Goodwin, the Strang brothers. They had a very good side. Dave Houghton as well played in those early years. Obviously, they've lost a lot of those players. They don't have that experience anymore.
Let's actually move on and keep some of the older boys happy. Move on to some of the really good performances from some of the older games. Let's go back to the first time. Well, it's not a great performance actually. I had to bring this up. Sorry to the old fellas. The first time we ever played Australia. And they never asked us to play them for another 30 years, basically because we got rolled for 42. They made 199, and then we got rolled for 54. But they declared on 199.
You know the funny thing about this test, though, Rick? Walter Hadley won the toss and batted, and they got bowled for 42. You'd be questioning the captain, wouldn't you, winning the toss?
Tiger O'Reilly, though, that's a great name. So let's screw that one up, and we'll get rid of that because we want to forget that one. Let's move on to better times now. Now, this is the first time R.J. Hadley came to the fore. I think he'd been a bit of a rubbish bowler before this, and then all of a sudden he goes and rolls India. A fantastic effort this. And incidentally, he was the 4th seamer in this match.
In that game he was.
Yeah, and then bang, what does he get? So he gets 7 for 23. So a fantastic game for Richard Hadley there. Fantastic stuff. So that was the launching of Richard Hadley. Very shortly we'll get to when we won against England for the first time. But let's move on to the... no, we're going to go to that straight now. So R.J. Hadley's all of a sudden to bowl teams out. Now, this is the game that sticks in a lot of people's mind because this is the first time New Zealand was able to beat England. And Richard Hadley once more, but look at that, we've rolled England for 64. So a feature of a lot of the older games here was some low scores and some good wickets from fast bowlers. So
was that when Richard Collins bowled?
Boycott. Richard Collins, iconic 2 deliveries, got Boycott in the second and he's bowled him, and just fantastic stuff there. So that was our first win against England, done here at the Basin Reserve. So, good memories as far as this ground is concerned for all concerned. OK, you've got a chance to win here with a Dilmah Tea Party, and this is how you can do it. You can win a First 11 Dilmah Exceptional gift bag, plus each entry will go into the draw to win one of 6 years and a supply of Dilmah vouchers, each valued $160. To enter, go to www.dilmah.co.nz and enter your details and answer 2 very, very simple questions. What sticks out in your mind the most? For me, it's Martin Crowe's 299 and the time that we saved a test match against the West Indies here, and the West Indies used the 1 ball for 170 overs. Those are the 2 that stick out with me. You've got 10 seconds for you.
Oh, same innings for me. Martin Crowe's innings.
Martin Crowe? Yeah, Martin
I just
Crowe
remember it because
at this ground.
It was just a sadness that he didn't
Mac,
get
it was
300.
probably your 100. We know you just think about yourself. All right, that's it for the Dilmah Tea Party. I'm taking the bag because I never got 100 here. I deserve something nice, so I'm getting the Dilmah bag for me. You guys have had a good day here in the past. We'll see you tomorrow at the Dilmah Tea Party. Let's hope New Zealand's in a better situation.